Hello, everybody. We're going to continue on with the series of talks here in the Launchpad. And to give a backdrop for our next presenter, I wanted to sort of take you back about 3 years when we were discussing why there should be a MakerCon and what MakerCon should be. You know, there were this wonderful event of Maker Faire. We had some incredible makers who were coming to Maker Faire, and they were stuck in their booths. Some of these makers were people who had product that they'd been iterating on and had gotten really good at that product, but they were at a loss to how to take it to market. And so we thought, if they're coming to Maker Faire anyways, why don't we have an event just beforehand so that makers who would otherwise be trapped in their booths at Maker Faire could actually meet with others who were similarly far along in their hardware product ideas. And maybe let's get them to network with one another. Let's have them hear from funding sources, learn about what the issues are in terms of challenges of going to market, et cetera, and leave here better prepared. It turns out that Atmel is thinking about this along with a bunch of partners. And so this is the kind of talk that hardware innovators should be listening to hear what kinds of resources and help there are. This is the kind of thing that we're trying to bring to the great makers that are in our community and attending this event. So Sander, come on up.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can. So good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I'm assuming there's going to be more people coming to this room in a second. Yeah. So from Makerspace to Marketplace, and I promise you by the end of the presentation you'll know all about Atmel and how we are actually taking people to market and make them successful. Just a little bit about myself. Yeah, so some people already probably spotted a Dutch accent. I was born and raised in Holland, worked for Philips and NXP Semiconductors, joined Atmel 2.5 years ago, run marketing. And you can follow me on Twitter. So if you want, or if you don't mind, go and have a look and tweet with us. Probably a little less important to follow me. There's also an @Atmel that you can follow, which is the company. And there is a lot of conversations happening there. Isn't this a beautiful place? So it struck me when I was doing a little bit of research on this place, the amount of history. There's not a lot of great history and long-standing stuff in America compared to Europe, but this one is beautiful. It's 100 years old, and it's actually testimony to what we're doing here again today, is celebrate making and makers. And I'm actually very proud and humble to be here. Just a little bit about my philosophy, which is helpful in the space of making and entrepreneurs and makers. And I always take Michael Jordan's quote where he says, you know, I kept on failing until I actually succeeded. And I'm guessing that that's at the heart of many of your projects and dreams as well. A little bit about the company, Atmel Corporation. We actually celebrated our 30th anniversary in December of last year. We're a worldwide leader in the design and manufacture of microcontrollers, capacitive touch, advanced logic, mixed signals, etc., etc., etc. And you can read that all for yourself. And this is always a little bit where I start to lose my audience. People go, oh, okay, that's a boilerplate. Really? A microcontroller company that has a little bit of a older air to it. Let me try and take you on a journey of how cool we are and how we can be of great help. So this is what we sell. Still not super exciting. And this is how we used to market. Let me go market this to you for a second. It's a Wi-Fi capable 4K, mini USB, micro HDMI, micro SD, blah, 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 board. That's how I started marketing semiconductors 15 years ago in Philips, and it's actually still happening. If you think a little bit about this particular board and you apply that to marketing, that particular board actually sits in the GoPro. So it's the GoPro 3, and this is the approach that we're taking from a marketing point of view at Atmel, where we tap into the emotional connection there is with the brand, but also the emotional connection within the communities of Arduino and AVR and makers. Is it already getting a little bit more exciting? I'll tell you something else. We are the heart of the Maker community, because that particular microcontroller, the 8-bit AVR on the Arduino Uno, is an Atmel chip. Yeah? And that means that in many cases, with many people buying these boards, these chips from Atmel are already in your hands. And that's where some of the exciting stuff is happening, because the magic happens when these boards get into hands of very creative people. And if you didn't think that Arduino wasn't mainstream already, I don't know whether you saw it, Arduino was actually a few weeks ago on the Jimmy Fallon show, where somebody tried to explain in a Quinn kind of fashion to Jimmy Fallon what making and science and building stuff was all about. And if you haven't seen it, I would urge you to go look at it, but that's probably, it doesn't get more mainstream than that, right? So what it does for the company is the following, right? It gives us the opportunity to go and talk to people who are using our technology, and we do crazy things and also cool things, and we get a tremendous amount of engagement around the Atmel brand. And here you see a few examples of stuff that we have been doing. We actually had a big invite from the White House a year ago at the National Day of Making, organized by Obama, and you can see my Atmel truck right in front of the White House. The gentleman in the middle with the funny glasses, that's Sir Mix-a-Lot. Raise of hands, who knows Sir Mix-a-Lot? There you go. I like big butts, and I'm not going to lie. I never thought I was actually going to go say that in a presentation, but that's what happened working for Atmel. And of course there's Massimo, and I think you get the picture, right? And I'll show you a little bit of our presence that we will have over the weekend as Atmel here at the Maker Fair. So that's a little bit of a journey of who we are, what we do, and what the change has been in approach. But if you think a little bit about the following quote that says, by 2018, which is not that far out anymore, 50% of the Internet of Things solutions will be provided by startups less than 3 years old. Most of the things that will exist in 2018 we can't even conceive of today because they haven't been invented yet. Well, if that particular quote isn't a platform for change, then I don't know anymore what would be. So if you think a little bit about this, and that's also why we love makers and are a big sponsor of the Maker movement, is because of this. This is what's actually happening right now in a lot of garages and makerspaces, however you want to define those at this particular moment. A few more statistics. This is the crowdfunding dollars raised in Q1 2015, and you can see the verticals on the left-hand side, wearables being the biggest, but you get a little bit of a feel of the magnitude of activity that is happening through the crowdfunding stream, and you can actually see how significant it is. A few more. This is the recent search. If you go onto Kickstarter right now, and you're probably very familiar with all of this, there is 325 current projects on Arduino, and those, of course, because we happen to work for Atmel, that's very favorable for me because that's the companies or the projects that were founded and have started on Atmel. So it means that we have put our semiconductors in a lot of people's hands. I think this audience actually knows the magnitude of Kickstarter, but just for the heck of it, I threw this in. 8.5 million people have backed the Kickstarter project, 2.6 million people have backed more than one, and 308,000 people have backed 10 or more. So this isn't going to go away anymore, and there's actually people in this room that have successfully traveled that particular path. So why do we like startups from an Atmel point of view? And I think by now you're on to me. We like them because this is the potential next big thing that can happen and be built with Atmel technology. There's actually a problem. The problem is, how do you go from what I call Makerspace to from Makerspace to marketplace? And it's sometimes hard. So who in this audience is actually doing something, has a project, has something going on right now, is thinking, there you go, so there's a few. It's hard. right? There's a lot of things you need. There's not a lot of time you have. So who do you partner with to go to market in the fastest possible way? And I think it sometimes feels a little bit like this. Now you have an idea, you want to go across, and I picked the Golden Gate because I thought it would resonate. I was going to go pick a Dutch bridge, but that wouldn't have gone down very well. So how do you do this? And I think it's being perceived, and sometimes also maybe being even real, as a cumbersome process to sort of cross the bay, in this particular case, and move into the marketplace and get into revenue. Here's the thing, and I'll take you through all the things that Atmel has, and maybe it's going to be of help for some of you. So not only are we world famous for our 8-bit and our 32-bit microprocessors, we're actually having a big play in the security side of things, which is getting increasingly important when you build your IoT or any other device. And then there's connectivity, because you want it to talk to anything and everything, whether it's going to be your phone or the cloud. So we have every single flavor of wireless connectivity as well. A big player in automotive. So the hardware side of things is actually taken care of. Yeah? We have a huge portfolio of hardware that is going to help you, which is great. It's a great start. Here's something that is unique. From its beginning, AVR, and that DNA is still within the company, has had free tools and a lot of community around its hardware. And here's the ecosystem that Atmel actually is at the center of, with a lot of people talking and a lot of support that you can be getting, which consists of the usual stuff, like your explain boards, but also the development tools, studio and software, which you can just go download, and it's for free. Then, of course, since we have this deep connection with Arduino, you can go tap into the Arduino community, and you can also go tap into our AVR free community, which has hundreds of thousands of people talk and communicate among themselves around projects. Yeah, so there's a big resource out there that you can go tap into the minute you've selected our hardware. Then there's Atmel Start, which helps you go to market. So, and those tools are actually, you can find them, and otherwise you can reach out to me and I'll help you go find them. So that's two. Then there's quite a few people, I don't know whether you, the person that raised his hand, are actually working on an Arduino. So once you've started on an Arduino and you want to go move out of your prototyping phase, then what do you do? In many cases, oh really? In many cases, there is a path that needs to be walked, and we are actually helping you go to production. Let me speed this up because somebody just told me that I have a few minutes left. Anyway, Studio 7, I'll just continue. Coming up in June is going to help you. It's going to give you a fast path, accelerated path for 8 and 32-bit MCUs, and it bridges the gap in the environment that you're used to. It actually ports over code that you have pretty easily. Watch the space, that's going to happen very soon. Supply chain is probably also an issue. We partner with distributors like Avnet in this particular case, where we sit down, guide you on the hardware, and also help you on the supply chain. So that's actually a lot of things. Then there's one more thing, is we have a huge social footprint. As a matter of fact, Atmel has the largest social media footprint in the industry, and it's not my audience, it's just an audience that constantly engages with the company, and we have a lot of content, and we help people go to market, and I'll give you a few examples. So from a marketing point of view, you're also being helped if you go and deal with Atmel. So, if you partner with Atmel, this is actually what you would be getting. You get a very smooth bridge from Makerspace to Marketplace, but I think you already got that. So a few examples before I let you go. There's companies out there, companies like Zimbit, for example, and there's many more here. We had 3D printed pancakes in the White House when I was there last year in June at the White House Maker Fair. MakerBot, obviously, Little Bits, drum pens, a lot of people that started on Arduino and are in various phases of maturity and sometimes already in the market. And this is what we do. We give them a lot of attention through our social channels, and I'll make these slides available for you a little bit later on, where even big mainstream media like PSFK pick up on some of the content that we are featuring on our blog and on our Twitter handle. And there's a company, for example, called Beyond Home, and Beyond Home is trying to attack the traditional home security market. They are built on Arduino, and we help them go to market by sharpening their value proposition. So we actually threw in the theme of Home Alone, right? Because Beyond Home is actually trying to protect your home in a Home Alone kind of fashion. And we serve that up to our audience of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, which is actually giving them a lot of attention in the market because it's pretty noisy out there. What does that do? For example, Littlebit says, hey, thanks Atmel for all your help and giving us a lot of attention on our channels. It's helped us tremendously in pushing our brand. Let me tell you a little bit about, Quinn is actually here. So I'll give you an example that is actually touching to me and very cool, is what happened with Quinn, and we were just watching from the sideline, and I gotta go take you through this story no matter which sign you're gonna be holding up, to tell you the truth. So Quinn begins tinkering, you can see on the left-hand side, and reaches into Atmel for support because he started on an Arduino. Yeah? And he completes his project and he begins appearing in our events booth. So he's always at the Maker Fair, at least for the last few years he has been. We hosted a tech on tour stop, so we parked our truck at his school, which is a different way of giving support to the community. He actually goes mainstream, which would have also happened without my support, by the way, but I just want to make sure that I tell that. Launches a Kickstarter and says, hey, Atmel, can you help me? So we had a lot of engagement with Quinn on social media, pushed very hard, gets his project funded, this is a few weeks ago, and we actually, of course, really appreciate that, and he probably does the same, because it's a big showcase for what it is that we are doing. And this case, to me, is very interesting, because this is the best example of how technology has gone down to pretty generic level of in the market, right? So we have a great example with Quinn. So Quinn, don't forget me after you've started your own company and I am in the need of a job. I'm pretty cheap. So with Atmel, you'll go to market much faster, yeah? And we will go out and make sure that the components that I listed are going to be listed on the website. You can go reach out to us, not only for a hardware play, but also for the ecosystem play, and we will be there to assist you. So in closing, we're the maker enablers, but the ultimate power is with the community. Please do come check us out at the Maker Fair over this weekend. So we will have a big booth and a big Atmel presence, and the theme of the booth is actually from Makerspace to Marketplace. So we'll be showcasing a variety of makers and entrepreneurs in different stages of their maturity, from incubation all the way to people that have market success. And we will be having a lot of fun with our AVR man and Massimo and Arduino. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you over the weekend.